Hey guys, Grisel here, and today I have, as promised, a check-in for my low slash no buy. This is the January 2024 check-in. I am going to be real and, lay it all out. I'm going to mostly be focusing on the areas where I struggled because there were struggles. And this is a learning journey. This is a process towards regaining old habits and not necessarily like an austerity measure where I am being extremely strict on myself. I am starting to, ease into this. I am not doing an all or nothing. I am mostly doing these are the areas that I have identified as my major concerns, and these are the ways in which I'm trying to address it. There will be months where I either go up or below my above or below my targets, but for the most part my budget is supposed to be realistic and it is based on past spending. So at this point what I am doing is working mainly towards staying under budget in terms of not going beyond my monthly earnings. So there were a few months where I had to dip into my savings in the past, particularly in the past year, because of extra expenses, unexpected, you know, car things and stuff like that. And so I'm trying to recover from that, rebuild some of those savings of funds that I had to use up in order to make up for that and reestablish sinking funds for like necessary expenses, like when my car insurance rolls around every year. So here I have my stack of receipts that I just tracked for this week, and I'm all up to date with everything as of January and the beginning of February. So I'm filming this on February 4th. I'm going to try to get this out for this coming week, but if I don't, just know that the next update will be coming at the end of the month. So my goal is to have monthly updates and stick to that for myself and for you guys to see kind of like how this journey is going, and maybe we can learn from each other along the way. Now, I do have my Every Dollar app up here. Issues with the Ramsey Corporation aside, they are one of the only ones that is free, and even though I've tried to set up spreadsheets, like my brain just does not work with the spreadsheets, so this just works a little bit better. I do have spreadsheets in terms of like bigger like savings goals, like my sinking fund pots and stuff like that I can do, but like the monthly entering each bill thing, like for some reason spreadsheets and I just haven't gotten along, and I've tried the handwriting methods as well. Didn't work. So we use what we can and we use what's free. So Every Dollar is what I am currently using. I'm not going to show you guys the numbers necessarily. I will go into like some of the specifics where I maybe went over or under budget in some areas, but realistically, my numbers are meaningless to you all. I live in an area where it's very expensive and my earnings are decent, but in my region, they're not matching up. So that's why I'm not necessarily going to say like, I earn this much every month or whatever. Just know I'm like solidly middle class. I have an academic job. I'm fine, but it is very expensive to live where I live, and cost of living is very high. I'm going to pause for a second because my mother keeps texting. Back. And if you're curious about why I have the light on green today, it's because I've been in the middle of a mild migraine, and green light is one of the lights that is recommended for migraine. So right now I am doing okay. I'm handling the lighting for the video okay, but the green light is actually very helpful. So let's dive into this. I'm going to start with my challenge areas. I will start by prefacing this by referring to a couple of posts that I've made recently. My grandmother passed away just a few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago now. And that definitely had an impact on my plans, particularly when it came to my eating out budget. So I had set a budget of, and this is my idealistic budget. I know that with the way things are shaping up cost-wise in this city, like it's a little bit low. So my current eating out budget is $200 a month. That is a little laughable, to be honest, unless I really stick to it. So that is a goal, that is the target that I would like to hit. It's good for me, it's good for my health, but we're not quite hitting it. And this month I did go over by about $330. So as I went through this and counted, there were at least 11 incidents where I had purchased something for myself and my mom, whether it was because we were in the middle of, going through funeral affairs and all that, or traveling around, or just because I was trying to cheer her up and, just kind of be supportive as a daughter. So sometimes she paid for it, but my mother does have a very strict, she's retired, she's on a very strict, restricted budget. So I like to help her out where I can. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And just, buying her lunch a few times was part of the something that I did. So there were at least 11 incidents where I was purchasing stuff for her. There were a few incidents where I was purchasing stuff for me and my partner because he was also going out with me and being supportive during that time. So, for instance, like the night of the funeral, we walked around the corner and had a meal to eat at this little like corner store type of thing. So there were a lot of those types of events. So I was actually on target to not buy out any more food, but then everything happened and that kind of just went by the wayside. I had originally started, intending to kind of like cut myself off once I hit that budget, but that obviously didn't work out. So that is one area where I knew that I needed to work on, and I was doing okay until everything happened, and it's an area to continue working on. So I am aware of it, and we proceed as planned. However, I was under budget for groceries, so it evened out because grocery-wise, I was under by about 360 some odd dollars from the budget I had originally set. So it evened out, and it just worked out that way. So I wasn't over budget in that sense in terms of my total budget. So I do like to think of like if one pot ends up being lower and another ends up being higher, at least they even out, and so that's okay. But that was like my major stressor in terms of like going overboard. There were a few purchases that I made that were unplanned. I had not set a clothing budget, but I did end up spending $62 on clothes. I initially had told myself I would not purchase any clothing, but then suddenly, I needed a few things. I wasn't sure what I was going to wear to the funeral, and the weather was very unpredictable, so I suddenly needed something in case it was cold. I needed to buy leggings and stuff like that, a few little small pieces to adjust, and that happened. So I had not planned on that, but it did happen. I also bought a cozy sweater for my mom because it was nice and it felt like a comforting gift to give her. So that was unintended purchase, but purchase nonetheless. So I did not have a budget and I spent $62 in clothing. I also went over by like $30. I have a $50 budget for skincare and like beauty replacements. For the most part, I'm only doing replacements of empties and things that I know I have no like alternates or backups for. But I suddenly started breaking out because of all the stress and all the stuff that was going on. I've also adjusted some recent supplements to address my migraines, and I think that also triggered my skin. So suddenly I needed to purchase stuff for that kind of skincare with stuff that I haven't really like had in the house for a while because I'm not prone to breakouts. So suddenly I had to take a little trip to Sephora. I just bought some stuff from The Ordinary and the Inculus, so it's fairly affordable, but still an unexpected and unplanned purchase that I made. So I went over by about 30 something dollars there. My self-care fund, I was within. My gas was below, so that was good. These are the areas that I hit every month where I'm kind of like I got a plan for these guys. In terms of gifts, I had budgeted about $100 for gifts because it was my anniversary month. I did go over slightly in that area because I also purchased a few presents for my mom in terms of just like things to eat and just other things that I considered it part of the gift fund. It wasn't like necessaries, so it was extras. I consider it part of the gift fund in that sense. So went over by about $60 in that area. As I go through, eating out is the biggest shred of all that I have in here. In terms of entertainment, I had not planned on I had a $0 budget for entertainment, but I did end up buying a book. So that was like $13 I hadn't really planned for. Not a big deal, just like to acknowledge that I did spend it. Apartment maintenance was another area that I had not really planned. I have a budget of like $50 per month. Some months this budget may not be used, and that's how a lot of my categories are. Like there are some months where certain categories just don't get used. For instance, my medicine and vitamin category, I budget out for it. Some months it doesn't get used, so that money essentially just can be, considered to have gone somewhere else. My goal, like I said, overall is to stay under budget in terms of the total. The categories are a little bit more flexible for me. And then obviously to work on the areas that I know are a bigger struggle, like the eating out. So for apartment, I suddenly had like half my light bulbs go out. So I had to go and purchase some more, like this guy, which I invested in a color changing bulb just for the migraines, because that way I could like alternate to the colors that best work for me. So that was a little bit of a purchase. I had a few other purchases, like I needed a bath mat, I needed some cleaning supplies and things because my shower is a mess. There's a lot of hard water in this area, and I needed to like purchase some really stronger stuff to scrub it out and stuff like that. So, little extra bits. So I went over by about $26 in that area of the planned 50. So it came out to $76.05 actually. Speaking of my medicine and vitamin budget, that one I definitely went over. I plan normally around $80, and that is actually based on my most expensive medicine. I only really take two medications, two prescribed medications. One is for my migraines, one is for my thyroid, and where my insurance used to cover it, now they had stopped for a bit, and after finding a savings card, it usually comes out to about $70, so I budget $80 just in case. That went over because I did not have to purchase any of my prescription drugs, but I did have to purchase some of my supplements that ran out. Again, kind of like the light bulbs, like every so often, they all just kind of run out. Plus, after my recent hospital issue in December, I started looking a little bit further into other alternatives for migraines in a hope to not use as much of my migraine medication, because there was some suggestion that might have been what triggered the like stroke-like symptoms that I was experiencing. So very scary. The very scary side effects of most migraine medications are things like strokes and other assorted health conditions of note. But anyhow, I started a couple of new supplements, including a very specific dose of omega-3, which I actually do think has been making a difference. I am hoping this is not something that is a fluke or will change or is just dependent on some other factors, but this month I've only really had 2 migraines that required me to medicate, and today I'm a little bit off, mostly because of the weather. So fingers crossed this might actually be something that is having a major impact on me, but I needed to purchase it and I had not planned for it, and so I went a little bit over by about $40. So not so bad, but again, hadn't been planned. I also bought some new migraine glasses, including these. It was actually a 2 pair, so yes, green and red are 2 of the colors that are for the spectrum of light that affects migraines. So I purchased new glasses for that, mostly because I just had like some really cheap pairs, and I thought, you know what, it works. I should upgrade to something a little bit better. So I upgraded to these guys. So that was that budget, and those were the major categories where I went either over or under. I also bought myself, and this is what I considered my self-care budget, which is a budget of $25, and I spent $25, and it is a gigantic Squishmallow. It was the day when we went to the cemetery, not the cemetery, what is it called? The funeral house. So the day right after my grandmother passed, we went to the funeral home. I was having a lot of allergies, and there was a CVS, no, not a CVS, it's a Walgreens. Walgreens is the one that sells all the Squishmallows. So there was a Walgreens next door. I went over there, and there was this one Bigfoot Squishmallow that like really just like, for some reason, like it really hit me that I really wanted it, because I just wanted to give it a big hug, and I did not buy it. But the night of the funeral, I was like, yeah, I really want that thing. So I did buy it eventually. So it now lives on my bed, and you guys will see it in future videos. It is quite large and conspicuous. So there you go. So yeah, those are all the big purchases I made. Everything else was pretty, basic. I also had a major car repair. Super annoying, but I'm fine. Again, it's just the thing of like, well, I'm trying to recuperate from previous car repairs. This was actually more like planned maintenance. I needed to get my oil change. That has gone up in price. That used to cost me about $65. Now it's $99. Why? I don't know. And it was also time for my tires to get rotated, which they did, but I guess when they rotate my tires, they don't really balance them or align them. So my car started doing the shaking thing. I had to take it back. Last time I did this, the person who was there didn't charge me for that. This person did. I don't know if I got a freebie last time or I got scammed this time, not sure, but it came out to another $139. So all in all, I spent about 300 something dollars on the car this month, and that displeases me, but how else am I going to get to work to make money? So that happened. That'll come out of my savings, and again, the goal is to put money back into savings at the end of the month. So that's where we are. I had about 400 some odd dollars left over at the end based on like my total income and expenditures. There was that little buffer about 400 odd dollars. I haven't put that into my savings quite yet because my first paycheck doesn't roll around until next week. So once my first paycheck of February rolls around, I'm going to evaluate and then shift over that money and rebudget my paycheck for this month. That's one of the things I hate. I've had positions before where I get paid specifically on the 1st and the 15th, and I always kind of liked that model a little bit better because I always knew, like, yes, the day my rent goes out, money is coming in. Whereas my current payment schedule is just bi-weekly throughout the year, and sometimes that means it's the first week of the month, sometimes it's the second. It alternates, and I basically have to make sure that I have enough at the end for the beginning. I always do. I'm not that badly off, but I still hate it. I do think the 1st and 15th just to me makes more sense, or like the 30th or whatever, like the last day and then the middle. Like knowing that it's at the beginning of the month is nice. Sometimes I have to, make sure that I don't spend too much before that. Another thing that did help me this month is that at, like the midway mark, when I knew that I had already overspent a bit for eating out, I did decide to challenge myself not to buy groceries. Like, could I get away with eating what was in my home? And I could. And so I managed until the end of the month with just meals at home, and I think a couple of other meals that we had out because my partner treated me for those. So I did okay. I'm still trying to do that this month. I bought a few groceries now, and I still can manage with what's in the freezer, so I'll probably have a bigger grocery shop next week. Once I run out of stuff, I will need to go and buy some of the bigger purchases, like going to BJ's and buying like enough chicken for the next month and stuff like that. So that is to come. We'll see how it goes. So that's what's going on with me. That's my update on my, I wouldn't call it failed low buy for the month, but like not off to the smoothest start low buy / no buy for 2024. So let me know how you guys are doing, and if you've been struggling with purchases or saving or anything like that. And I will check in with you guys on the next one.